Okay, so when you walk through a forest, what do you hear? Birds, maybe some rustling leaves? It seems pretty quiet, right? Well, what if I told you that right under your feet, there's a huge, secret conversation going on? Not with voices, but with electricity. Seriously. Today, we're going to tune in and eavesdrop on the secret language of fungi.
I know, I know. Do mushrooms talk to each other? It sounds like a question from a fairy tale, doesn't it? But this is a real question that scientists are asking, and the clues they're digging up are just wow. So let's put on our detective hats and see what's really going on down there.
All right, first things first. That mushroom you see popping out of the ground, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's kind of like the apple on a giant invisible tree. The real fungus is this massive underground network of tiny threads called mycelium. You can think of it like a mushroom internet, spreading through the soil, connecting trees and plants. It's the original World Wide Web. Now we know it sends food and water through this network, but could it be sending messages too?
So here's our first major clue. Mushrooms don't have brains. They don't have a nervous system like we do. But, and this is the crazy part, they send tiny little bursts of electricity through that mycelium network. Kind of like how our own brain sends signals through our nerves, little zaps of energy shooting through the soil. And that is where this whole mystery really kicks off.
Naturally, a scientist saw this and thought, I wonder what's going on there. He basically decided to do something amazing. He decided to listen in, to tap into that mushroom internet and find out if those little electrical zaps were just random static or something more.
And he didn't just listen to one type of fungus either. No way! He picked 4 really different kinds to spy on. You've got ghost fungi, enoki mushrooms, you might have seen those in the grocery store, split-gill fungi, and even something called caterpillar fungi. It was like a proper scientific stakeout, listening to a whole neighborhood of fungi to see who was saying what.
So you're probably wondering, how in the world do you listen to a mushroom? Well, it's actually pretty cool. First, you gently stick these tiny little pins, called electrodes, into the fungus. Think of them like super sensitive microphones, but for electricity. Then you hook those pins up to a computer. And finally, you just hit record and wait. And the computer captures every single one of those little electrical spikes. Sounds simple enough, but what they found was mind-blowing.
Okay, so this was the big question, the absolute most important part of the whole experiment. Were all those spikes just random noise? You know, like the static you hear on a radio when it's not tuned to a station? Was it just the fungus being alive? Or
were they actually organized? Were there patterns in the static? Well, as the scientist looked at all the data, he realized it wasn't random at all, not even close. He was seeing clear repeating patterns. It looked like something was being said on purpose.
And here's the first huge discovery he made. The electrical spikes almost never happened one at a time. They usually came in little groups, or what he called trains. You'd get a zap, then another, then a couple more, all in a little bundle. And that was the first massive clue that this wasn't just noise. There was structure here.
this discovery led to an incredible new idea. Think about how we make words, right? We take a bunch of letters like CAT and group them together to mean something. Well, what if the fungi were doing the same thing? What if each one of those groups of spikes, each train, was actually a fungal word? Okay, get ready, because this is probably the wildest part of the whole story. The scientists started counting how many spikes were in each fungal word. Some were short, some were long. But when he made a chart to see what was most common, he saw a pattern. Then he did the same thing for human languages, like English, and the two charts looked almost exactly the same. It turns out that both fungi and people tend to use a lot of medium-sized words and not too many super short or super long ones. The pattern was a match. It's just unbelievable.
And when you look at the actual numbers, it gets even weirder. Take English, for example. Our average word is about 4.8 letters long. Well, for the caterpillar fungi, their average word is 4.7 spikes. So close. Or look at Greek with an average of 4.45 letters. The split-gill fungi, their average is 4.4 spikes. The similarity is just, it's too much to be a coincidence. It's a statistical fingerprint.
Now, let's be super clear about something. This does not mean mushrooms are speaking English or Greek under the ground. That's not what's happening. But what it does suggest is that the communication has rules. It has structure. It's organized in a complex way that just so happens to look a lot like how our languages are organized. It's not about the words. It's about the pattern.
And, just like with people, it seems some fungi are chattier than others. The researchers found that one fungus in particular, the split-gill fungus, its fancy name is Schizophilium commune, was the biggest talker of them all. It was putting together the most complex patterns, almost like it was forming full sentences. It was the undisputed champion of mushroom communication.
So, just how much could this champ actually say? Well, the study suggests it might have a vocabulary, like a dictionary, of up to 50 different words, 50 distinct electrical patterns it can use to send messages. For something with no brain, that is an absolutely huge vocabulary.
Okay, so this is what we all want to know, right? If they're talking, what on earth are they talking about? What's so important that a mushroom needs to send a message about it? Well, scientists have some really good ideas, and it all comes down to one thing: survival. They think the messages might be things like, hey everyone, I found a good source of food over here, or maybe a warning, like, watch out, something dangerous is nearby. It could even be a way to report an injury, or just give a weather report, like, it's getting really dry in this spot. Basically, it's all about working together to keep the whole giant network healthy.
Now, we have to be honest here. We can't actually translate this language, at least not yet. This research is brand new. It's like we've just discovered that aliens are sending signals, but we have absolutely no idea what they're saying. We've found the conversation, but we don't have the dictionary.
So why is this so important? I mean, it's cool, but what's the big deal? Well, for one, it could totally change how we think about forests. It shows us just how connected everything is under the ground. We can learn how plants and fungi are all working together in this giant partnership. And get this, some scientists think we could even learn from these fungal networks to build totally new kinds of computers that are actually alive. How cool is that?
And all of this leaves us with just one last amazing question to think about. If this incredibly complex conversation has been happening right under our noses, well, under our feet, this whole time, what else is out there? What other secret languages and hidden conversations are happening all around us in nature, just waiting for someone to listen in?